Just a minute, I hear you say. We've already seen this character, haven't we? Well, you'd be right. We were here the other day, and the name Danilo I've been practicing this, and it's not worked, has it? Danilo, let's just call him Danilo. And not just any Danilo, he was king of Ruthenia. That's right, back in the 13th century, the 1200s, Danilo inherited a large area of land over which his father was a hetman, the big cheese, and then in his own lifetime Danilo was crowned king of Ruthenia by none other than the Pope. He'd actually tried to get the Pope to help him with sort of holy war in order to maintain and gain territory in the region. His area of influence extended as far north as, well, areas in the west of modern-day Belarus, and even a little bit of land down the east of what we call today Poland. He was surrounded by warlike neighbours, the expanding Commonwealth of Lithuania. The Hungarians were here, the Poles knocking at his door, as well as the Tartars and the Mongols. And he thought it's a good idea to get the Pope on board. He thought the Pope would do what popes do. What do? They issue papal bulls, don't they? Some kind of call to arms for a holy crusade in the area to fend off the Mongols in particular. And he was kind of disappointed when he instead just ended up with a kingdom, or a title I should say, because he pretty much already controlled the land. This is back in the time when this region of Western Ukraine was really considered more an area known as Galicia, and also Volhynia. So, a notable figure, I hadn't heard of him before, did a little bit of background reading, thought in passing I'd just drop in again to say hello to Danilo and give you an update on who on earth this heroic figure was. And for a change, it wasn't Bohdan Khmelnytsky. This guy came 300 years before. So why am I really here? Why did I come specifically back to this area? Well, I'll tell you, because I think somehow I managed to miss a castle. I was looking to see what else was worth viewing in Ternopil when I realised, oh, there's a castle. Of course, I saw it on a signpost. Do you remember? There was a post indicating the old castle. And somehow I missed it. And how did I miss it? Because it's actually in an area where I've already been. There's the desirably located anyway, Hotel Ternopil over here. We've seen this before, and we walked down this way to the lakeside. When you look on the map, you realise that that leaves only one candidate for the castle, and that's it. I just wanted to look in again in case somehow I'd managed to miss this. Something spectacular, obvious and castle-like. I think I veered off a little bit and went down the right-hand side down to the lake because there was a school group over to the left. Maybe there's some information over there. I'm going to check that out right now. But this is evidently the site of the first stronghold built here in the 16th century by that fella Tarnov, or Tarnów perhaps his name was pronounced, because there is a city called Tarnów in Poland, and I'm guessing that the guy was from there. You know, I'm no expert on architecture, but I'd never have said, oh yeah, it's a castle. How about you? I can see actually on the wall here there is some information. There are various old pictures in place of windows, which is a curious, novel way of doing it. And sure enough, confirmation, and I haven't gone mad in case you were wondering, Ternopil Castle. Da, da, da. You see? I wasn't kidding you. Part of the Ternopil fort, which was built to protect the city from Mongol Tatar invasions. The construction lasted for 8 years, from 1540 to 1548. The castle complex includes the 5-storey palace, preserved to this day, 2 levels of which are underground. Interesting. For 2 centuries, the castle protected the inhabitants of the city until it was partly destroyed and burned. Well, things have changed a bit in more recent times as well, as we can see from this old picture up here. I'll see if I can zoom in. There were some large, almost buttress type of towers. Gate towers, gate posts, very elaborate, however you want to call them. Oh, it's not focusing very well, unfortunately. Those are long gone. So back in the 19th to 20th century, those were still there by the seams of things, but something happened to knock them down. Here's the man who got approval to build his fort here to protect this area of Polish influence back in the day. As I think I've said before, the building of this construction really marks the beginning of Ternopil as a city, and nothing remains of any prior fortifications or earlier buildings, which is a little bit sad. But in an area so rich with history, there's so much that's been lost as well. And I suspect that in the case of Ternopil, that's the case here. And perhaps archaeologists would be able to shed more light on this. Ooh, crikey, what does this say? Mappa der Stadt Ternopil, or Ternopil, 1797. Well, the castle was certainly more significant, wasn't it? That's what we've got today, just up there. And we had this nice big wall and a nice tower. They've all gone. Nice gate. There's the fancy church near to the statue of Danilo. And we got another church down here. I'm thinking this is it that? No. Is it an Armenian church? Because what happened back in the day in the 13th century when Danilo was king of Ruthenia, he actually invited the first Armenians and Jews to help populate and establish a commercial outpost here. In his territory, I mean. Not specifically in Ternopil. But it does just bring to mind the fact that if there were Armenians here, maybe that... all it says here is Srednia Cerkva, which is Srednia, medium size in Polish, medium-sized church. No, it probably isn't the right translation at all of that. I'm standing just here. Danilo's over here. Huge church, which had all the beggars outside the other day, is here. I can only blame myself for not understanding Ukrainian. Then I could read more and understand a little bit more of what this map tells us. But that's my fault. I've just caught up with things I wanted to come back to, and now I want to do a bit of exploring new ground. You never know what you're going to find in a little archway. Can't read it, but obviously something to do with the festival. Interesting. Maybe I should say ciekawe. What the heckity heck has happened here? Is it a chicken? Is it a cow? Is it an iPhone zombie walking in front of the camera? It's all three. And I don't want to draw too much attention to myself by filming a bomb shelter, just in case, particularly as there's a police car there. We've got a very fine looking building at the back. I'm not sure entirely what it is. I know we've got the medical university somewhere around here, so whether that's a part of it. And there's one of those I love signs. This one says I love TKFK, so maybe that's something to do with the medical university? Or have I just made that up completely and it's hogwash? Let me know in the comments. So this was the church I was talking about just now, thinking Armenian, but actually no, it isn't. But obviously this goes back a fair number of years. It says here 1608. I think I'll leave the locals to it, because there are people inside. I won't try and bother them. Just down a side road next to the church, we come down into Volunteer Square. And Volunteer Square is most notable because of not that big blue glass and steel building, but the memorial in front of it. And here we are, the memorial to the Heavenly Hundreds. The Heavenly Hundreds, actually a very new order which began in Ukraine to mark, well, to honour really the service and in some case the giving of the life of heroic people in the name of their country. Specifically, this all began back in, well, the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, when life in Ukraine began to change forever. The in situ president decided he didn't like the fact that his legitimately voted for Parliament had decided to vote in turn for a move towards the European Union. So he overrode that, and rather than sign off that motion, he chose to sign something which pointed Ukraine in the direction of Moscow influence for the future. A lot of protests, innocent people gunned down in the center of Kiev. Euromaidan, you may remember, those of you old enough to remember. Unarmed people shot by snipers. Presumably, it's assumed the President Yanukovych had given the order that opposition wasn't to be tolerated, and yes, that's how it all began. So with those people who lost their lives in mind, unarmed people, nurses trying to protect injured people, unarmed activists, people who didn't want Parliament's decisions to be ridden over roughshod by any president, people who are remembered here. The Heavenly Hundreds. Times Square. Jumping continents. But not really. Well, we've got the National Museum back there. However, it looks as though there's a lot of work going on. Huge amount of materials outside. Therefore, I needed a reason to come back to Ternopil, didn't I? There, visit that museum when it's been finished with the renovation or whatever's going on in there. Anywho, I think I might be leaving you now because I think I've visited all the places I had on my little hand-drawn map. It's looking that way. And yes, I've had a little hand-drawn map today because there were a few places I thought, okay, I'm going to get confused walking around under my own steam doing this. So there's my little handheld map, you see. It even extends over the page. Who says I don't professionally go into the planning of these videos? And it's an apartment decoration shop. Well, again, another shop going that extra mile in order to create something visually memorable. So if you want a flamingo themed apartment, this is the place to come to in Ternopil. Don't complain to me that I didn't tell you. It's a farewell to Ternopil. I'm very pleased to be leaving when I'm leaving. I've seen and done everything I planned to do, and the timing's right. And also, if I'm honest, I'm getting a bit tired of having to physically negotiate my way around the kitchen, bathroom facilities and hallway of the hostel when the fat, hairy guy without a shirt is taking up so much space. Yeah. So that's one of the good things about staying in hostels and not having a permanent base. If your neighbours put you off a bit, or are just people that nobody would want to have as neighbours, you can move on. It's that easy. So I've got my ticket to ride, and nice timed checkout until 12 o'clock noon in Hostel Ternopil, so that's one of the good things about the hostel. And I will say, I hope you enjoyed the whole Ternopil series. I hope you're enjoying the videos from Ukraine, and keep watching. Will I still be in Ukraine next time we see each other? Or will I have moved on elsewhere? Time will tell. Meanwhile, don't forget to like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, because you know you'll kick yourself if you don't. Until the next time, I think it's time to say do pobacenia. 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 That's right. Remember that statue of the lady, Solomia somebody or other? Well, I looked her up. She was that famous soprano singer who I thought she probably was, and I somehow mistook her for Mary Poppins. Remember her? She's not Mary Poppins. And a day in Ukraine wouldn't be quite the same if we didn't pay our respects to Taras Shevchenko. Feet or paws or claws. Very posh.